So, very happy to announce the first live session of the day, the customer live session of the day. Here with me, I have Klaus Zamazal and Ingo Bleyer from AVL in Graz, Austria. Very welcome. We will hear about effective collaboration on engineering from a supplier perspective, which I think is very interesting. AVL, as I mentioned earlier, with 11,000 employees worldwide, is quite a size of a company. You're even bigger, much bigger than some of your clients. You concentrate very much on drivetrain solution, but also very much on engineering and the projecting of it and so on. So we will learn about how you establish collaboration standards with your customers. You guide us to different scenarios there, not only collaboration, but also integration scenarios. So, and then we end up also seeing how QChecker played a role with this, what, how, and why QChecker helped to establish these standards in the collaboration. Klaus and Ingo, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for this night invitation and the night introduction. A warm welcome from Graz, from AVL, with my colleague Ingo Bleyer, who will do the second part of this session. Our title is a very longer one, talking about the introduction of QChecker with an example into a startup, or how we call it, new OEM, for an hopefully very effective concurrent engineering approach. And who are we? Yeah? So it is me doing the first part, and with all the steps in my career, it always ends in these topics of PLM, like design quality, bill of material, concern and change management, release, and digital mockup. And my colleague Ingo Bleyer is as well in this area of PLM since more than 20 years. And I think we have some experience that we want to share with you. We did the introduction already, or I'm doing as well a short introduction of AVL for those who are not familiar with our company. Then we see general first steps with the customers, and then we go really into a kind of deep dive for the QChecker in our experience and in the timeline, and what this helpful tool, the QChecker, is not, and what it can be and how it can be implemented best. Just some facts and figures. You know, these slides are mandatory. As already mentioned, we have around 11,000 employees worldwide, close to 70 years of experience now. We're very strong in terms of the patents that that comes along with our very high percentage of what we invest in in-house R&D. So 65% of our employees are engineers, and we are the world's largest engineering service provider with around 45 affiliates, and doing 3 disciplines, in fact. So, as mentioned, engineering services in the powertrain development, instrumentation and test systems, and some part of advanced simulation technologies. And as for us, we are located in the headquarters in Graz, and there are some partners and some engineering centers worldwide, for sure, as well, in close to your area. So, general step, and even though this is mentioning startups and new OEMs, these first steps with customers are our standard business. So our standard procedure with these enabling business components is what we call the first step, and we do that with, yeah, I would say a high importance, and try to bringing an understanding for all the customers very intensively. What do I mean with that? Each project, and I don't think that it's differing to other companies, is working normally in a collaboration scenario, and we divided our customers, let's call them OEM, original equipment manufacturer, into 4 groups, which you might know out of your experience as well. So the one in the collaboration scenario are the OEMs, where we work completely in the OEM IT tools and systems, or even on-site at the customer. And obviously we have to follow, and we follow the OEM processes for 100%. We call that the depth of integration, and therefore the depth of integration in that step is around 100%. All the other scenarios, we try to bring in our know-how, and this does not only mean technical know-how, it means as well some processes and IT knowledge, which has, of course, all the processes and standards and product development processes that are needed to run projects in a, let's say, efficient and hopefully very high quality way. In this particular case, we have 3 different scenarios as well as a theory chart. Still, the OEM processes are dominant. We have a permanent data exchange for project management, but we have already some more freedom that goes along with the next scenario, where we in fact just consolidate and transfer the data only at different quality gates or maturity level milestones in the project. And the project work between AVL standards is synchronized with the OEM scenario. And the one that is the most, I would say, challenging for us is that the project work is mostly done according to all our processes and standards, with some OEM specific adaptations, of course, but in fact, we are in our environment, we are in our processes, and therefore it's a scenario that's very interesting for especially these startups and new OEMs as well. What does it mean? In detail, we have a high interest and I would say close to passion for quality, which means certified design processes and standards, CAD guidelines, design guidelines, everything what you can think of that helps to bring up the quality from the very beginning. All the attribute synchronization in the area of PLM between 3D and 2D. We are running all the 3 CAD systems that are, for our understanding in the automotive industry, the most important ones. We have our own quality gates, we have our own electronic workflows, which we follow, and of course we have a high attention as well to any IP protection and achieving. So the scenario, what we are talking about today, it's a kind of deep dive for this, let's call it OEM 1, so a new one that relies on our processes and our standards. And we're doing this session here with a kind of deep dive in the terms of 3D Q-checks. We know some of them, and especially in this area, we talk about the Q-checker. And with that being said, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Ingo Bleyer.
So, hello and welcome all together to this morning session. My name is Ingo Bleyer at AVL, location Graz, Austria. And today we want to talk about the AVL experience with the Q-checker and how we introduced this to basic quality to a newcomer car manufacturer. Yeah. So our first slide is that CodeChecker combines more than someone would think about. Yeah? So in the first thing is, the first case in CodeChecker is something that everybody know about it. Yeah? So we should check the design rules and help to show the users the mismatches in their design. This is something what everybody know about. So, but there's even more. So you have also significant quality characteristics. You have to check predefined company standards and like materials, weight, naming conventions. Is the correct setup for the standard in use or not? So this is just the next point. Then we have also the big problem, a very important point. It's not really visible at the project leaders or project management that you have educational correct files sometimes, and at least you will have a vendor warranting problem at least, and you have to talk with your vendor, why does this happen? Yeah? A CodeChecker can help to avoid this problem. And the last but not least, the CodeChecker can guarantee that only to release data which matches the defined design quality into different departments or OEMs. Yeah? So, so far we introduced these informations to our customer to get more sense to the responsible leader of the PLM and CAD ramp-up team. And now I think it's time to start the implementation steps on the customer side. Yeah, the next slide. Is it hanging? Okay. So we have here now the start phase. In this phase, we make suggestions to the customer how to initiate a quality process and what kind of tools are necessary to work with a good quality from the early beginning. The customer need also the know-how to build startup models and keep a consistent design through the suppliers and service providers, internal and external. Then the first CodeChecker profile has been designed only as a minimum profile and just to support the early development in the first generation of startup models. This has two essential effects to the project. Yeah? The user will be educated and they know there is something ongoing in the future. And you have to prevent exchange of unlicensed copies of files. This is a very important thing. We'll come back later on. What does it mean to have a minimum profile? So then, in the next step, you have user trainings, and you have to deliver guidelines to the complete understanding for the future processes until the customer will switch to a PLM system. A benefit from an early quality check profile is you can import the data later in the PLM system without a redesign because of unchecked data. So you have already checked data and you can import them very easily in the PLM system until it's ramped up. So then the developing of the next generation startup models and CodeChecker profiles should include all responsible design engineers from each department. Yeah? At least this will increase the acceptance to go with the company rules and support the usage of the CodeChecker and start models. But this will an ongoing process. Yeah. This is an ongoing process with new improvements to the models, new type of models, and so on. Yeah. So that can expand to, yeah, let's say you have startup models for different departments. Yeah, so model type configurator. And at least after a PLM system has been established and ready to use, the release process should be adjusted to recognize the delivered quality status into the system, deny or allow to process data dependent to their quality status. So, the next slide. Here is now the life cycle of a CAD checker profile, the typical way how we did it in this with this customer. So the definition of a profile will grow after more and more details and requirements will be requested by different departments and designers. Yeah. While the minimum profile is very easy to build, yeah, an advanced definition can be very complex. When we start to develop the first profile, we had the knowledge how it could grow in the future. So we had to avoid a one-way profile. And this means a lot of definition were done in the early profile, but not active for project usage. So you have just the minimum in use, but in the background, there was a lot of testing for advanced and next generation profiles included. After each change, a complete testing is very essential, yeah, to be aligned between startup model definitions, the old ones and the new one, startup models, and the updated profiles. So the timeline of a CATIA profile can be very different. The first generation will stop to use after phase 2. So we will stop in here and we will ramp up then the next generation profiles. It will be replaced from the next generation. Okay. Okay, now I want to talk about the content of a checker profile. On this slide, I want now to share how a profile can look like from the beginning and how it can grow. And yeah, so let's walk through. The minimum profile, from our perspective, should include the check CAD integrity with CATIA checks. Then we have the allowed CAD release and hotfixes. Is it an education license used or not? And is the part view updated? Yeah, this is the minimum profile. This should be included. And then you are very safe on this side. So later on, you will go to the next generations, plus, even you reach the phase 5 profiles. In this profile, you will have the full design method check, then the department model type detection, allowed materials, allowed naming definitions in the standards, drafting and 3D master standards, and process relevant attribute checks. So this is the information what I can give you as a hint how a profile can grow. So, but there is even more. You can talk with the customer to use CATIA not as a check tool. You can also use it as a tool or macro, let's say. Okay. What does this mean? I can set up a CATIA tool environment, and in this you can use some basics or out-of-the-box functionalities from CATIA without defining expensive macros. Example could be a clearance check or a wall thickness check, or you have additional company properties what you want to add to your startup models. Yeah, CodeChecker can provide all these functionalities. So, and now one of our last slides is now is it a bug or is it a feature? This is a short story about the daily business, what we have. As a developer of a CodeChecker profile, you will always receive a user feedback that says CodeChecker has an issue. Yeah? So CodeChecker is not the issue, mostly. At a time while the project release phase is ongoing, this will happen very often. Yeah? And now you must analyze the issue and prove it against all company standards and guidelines. Therefore, the developer needs a good know-how about to support a CAD system. Yeah? In 95% of the cases, you will find out that the CodeChecker was not the issue, it was the feature. It shows the error of mismatches of CAD files. Yeah? Most problems will occur with converted or merged files. And in this case, you have to prevent such problems with a training in CAD work, in the daily CAD work. The user know, okay, just converted the file and it did not use a startup model. So this is the reason. And or you have a CAD macros where to add some basics into the startup model. Yeah? For older startup models, when you have an older startup model in use and your next generation startup model is in use, you have to update this or upgrade your startup model. But in very rarely cases, you will find a bug in the profile. But this is really very rare. And in this case, you have to define some fallback solutions like, okay, let's do an import with this error and allow this during the release process. In this case, you need an admin for the system who can release this data manually. Or it's possible to change the profile in a very fast way without conflicting with other standards. So, to such conclusion, you must act like a doctor. This means you have to describe the problem, then you have to analyze the problem, and at least you have to find to define the therapy. Yeah, what should we do at least? So, this is act like a doctor when you are a CodeChecker developer for CodeChecker profiles. So the next slide is, yeah, our implementation experience at this new customer. The minimum profile takes about 2 weeks, but this is not only the definition of the profile, it's also talking with your customer. Then you have a product quality version for CodeChecker around 2 months. And here you have to include all shareholders and power users. And you have to train and the small improvements. And at least you have to implement this into the car maker's quality system. This takes around 2 months. So, yeah. And this is what about using no CodeChecker. As you see, you will not get what you expect. Yeah, this was from my side. Thank you for listening.
The thank you is very much on our side, both Ingo and Klaus. Thank you very much for presenting today and taking the time today. Excellent presentation. Very clear. The last picture left me a little bit concerned though, what will be happen next, but this was just about the tattoo that we saw here. Just one small question. I heard you have the passion quality. You have been able to convince your customers even to engage with this. But we know that with CodeChecker, we ask for a little bit of extra time from the end user to deliver good results, good models that are ready to be used in collaboration or downstream processes. Is there any magic trick to get also the users on board at the end of the day?
The magic trick is just talk with the users, and you have to involve them in the development process of the CodeChecker itself. So you say what you have what you will plan for the future. Then you give them the examples, they can test it, yeah, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then you get feedback, and you will put this feedback into your profile.
Perfect. Then thank you again. We have to stay with the timeline. Thank you very much for presenting. Next one will be Nico Benz from Tomra, presenting an integration between SolidWorks, 3D Experience, and ERP. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
You're welcome. Bye.
You're welcome.